So Carlene and I are in a new place when it comes to our journey with minimalism. We've asked ourselves, what does minimalism mean for us in this season of our life, in our home, in our parenting, and for who we are? We've begun to realize that minimalism isn't just about living with less, just for the sake of less, because it looks different for everyone, and as you change as a person, so will minimalism for you. And now that we're 6 years in, we've talked about if we could go back and start this journey all over, what would we do differently?
The first thing that I would do if I was starting this whole minimalism journey all over is I would have better prepared myself for the mess I was going to make. Now that we're experiencing this, I can declutter and do all of these things without making a huge mess, but then I was in denial of how much I had. So I would go through every area of the house and I would make piles of things that needed to be donated or things that needed to go in the trash. And I would gain some momentum, but then the items that needed to leave the house were like right by the front door, or they were in the living room, or just, it didn't feel like I was making progress because I had so much stuff everywhere that needed to leave the house. So I would definitely prepare myself better and have like a game plan for what I was going to do with those things.
But I just want to say that there was a lot of stuff, but it's because she was able to declutter so much. And again, you guys know our minimalism journey, if you've watched this channel, is that she started the minimalism journey for us. I jumped in a little bit later after she's decluttered like our daughter's room and a lot of our house, but there was always so much stuff because once she would get into that decluttering mode, she would go hard. But like she said, I mean, there is a mess that comes with when you start to declutter. There's a lot of things everywhere and you're trying to like kind of organize it. You're trying to figure out, do I donate this? Do I give away that? Do I throw out this? Mm-hmm. So I think that you weren't prepared for the mess. Now, if we were to do it over again, you'd probably, I don't know, like what would you do differently if you, like with the mess?
So I would have, if I could go back, rented a dumpster. I have seen other people do this, like when you're renovating or gutting a house, or you really are, like doing a huge declutter. People have rented dumpsters. And I would say that we donated more than we threw away, but there was so much trash because we're not going to donate things that are in bad condition or that can't be used. That's a really big thing too. Like, we suggest making sure you're not donating things that are gross. Like, you don't want to donate your like old nasty like shoes that like you've tried to clean and they still smell. So anyway, we definitely would have gotten a dumpster so that we could have thrown things out and kept that momentum. Mm-hmm. Because where we were living, it was like, we didn't have that ability to put trash at the curbside or ever. So it just stayed right in our house until
I wish we had videos of our townhouse. And it's hard when you have stuff everywhere, it feels like all of your clutter is right in front of you. And it actually, I feel like it drives you nuts. Mm-hmm. There were so many times where I was trying to like step over things and then the kids were like messing with stuff, and it makes you feel worse than if you had it hiding in a closet. So,
well, the layout of when we first decluttered, the layout was a townhouse, and the bulk of our clutter was underneath the stairs because it was a storage space. So when we were decluttering, it was all right there, like in the kitchen and in the entryway. So I'm gaining this momentum, needing to throw things out. And the hard part was that in that time, because you can't declutter overnight when you've like accumulated for years. So in that time after decluttering, if someone was coming over or something, I had to make the house look a little bit more presentable. So those things I wanted to trash would end up, or donate, would end up like back underneath the stairs just temporarily. But still, it's like, no, like those things need to be out of the house, because sometimes, I mean, luckily we didn't do this, but sometimes people will do that. They'll like throw something in the garage because they're going to throw it out or they're going to donate it. But since it's like out of sight, it's out of mind. And then that stuff just stays there, or it ends up back in the closet. So I would have definitely rented a dumpster and just been able to get it out that way. Or if I lived in a house at that time, I would have gotten like the big contractor bags that are so thick and you can fit so many things in them. and I would have just filled that up and then put it out with bulk trash. So that's another option.
If I could go back and redo the whole minimalism experience, I would. I want to coin this term, intuitive minimalism. So I would have gotten rid of everything that I got rid of, but I would have, you know, as we started to think about how do we make our home still feel like a home, I feel like I would have tried to been more intuitive with what we brought in. Like, just, does it feel right to bring this in? Not versus like, I just don't want nothing in my house. Because I feel like for a while we were like, we don't want anything. We want like bare everything. And I don't regret.
Right, I don't either.
I don't regret having bare things because I feel like we got used to not needing as much, which is great. But I feel like I would want to have been a little bit more intuitive with what we brought in.
Luckily, it kind of made sense for us. So, you know, we decluttered, but then we didn't want to bring anything in, even if that meant making the space look nicer. But it actually worked in our favor because we didn't know then, like, I mean, our taste has changed a lot, like this house and what we're doing. So I'm glad we didn't bring anything else in, even if it was temporarily going to make our house feel better, because ultimately we were renting. So we waited now until we own a house to start kind of making it our own. So at least we didn't have to donate those things too.
Yeah, because when we moved twice since we became minimalist, and that has helped our moves, like not having a lot of stuff. And I do think that if we would have had more stuff, it might have been like you kind of buy furniture or buy things for the space that you're in. Mm-hmm. And if we would have bought a couch or a table or something like it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even wall art, some wall art doesn't look good in certain spots.
You never know. Yeah. So
I feel like in a lot of ways we missed out on just letting things like feel right in the house. What? So, for instance, we had at work we had an event, and this was just recently, and there was this flower-ish arrangement. But I typically wouldn't bring any of that home because I was like, I don't want this thing, I don't want this pot, this vase, and also don't want just stuff just to have stuff to have decor for the sake of decor. But when I brought it,
the way you say decor.
When I brought it and put it on the table, I was like, this looks really nice.
It looked really nice.
It looks really nice. And I was like, okay, as we're trying to figure out how do we make this house feel a little bit more like a home, and not because we're minimalist, but because we're just in a different space. How do we make it feel homey? Yeah. That was like, oh, this doesn't feel like clutter, and it feels nice. Yeah. And even for the kids, like little things, like even the stuff that we've done to their rooms, like the "You Are My Sunshine" sign, or the little things that Mila has in her room that, like, she just got a vanity for Christmas. I think 3 years ago we would have said no. Even though she would have been a lot younger, we would have said no.
Yeah, probably.
And now we're just like,
why? Like, what do you need a vanity for? But she was little, so it would have been like a play
we're
thing.
Trying to like
be more open. Be more open to adding things that are big. You know, like that's our thing, is because big items can make a space feel cluttered. Big items take up space. So we were really not into like adding furniture and things like that. Now we're more open to it because, first of all, we are in a bigger space. And then second, like we're in this chapter of wanting to make our house cozy. We've already done the decluttering. We've done like, you know, the moving and all of that and knowing what we wanted to keep. So now it's time to move to like the next phase.
Mm-hmm. I'll say we're done with people telling us that it looks like
no one lives here.
In. Yeah. And we don't care about those comments, but I'm saying like I say it as a joke, but I do think that it can sometimes come across as a house is not lived in, but it has saved us a lot of mental stress. Yeah. But like you said, like now we are settling. Like this is where we're settling. This is where we're raising our family. Now it's how do we move into making it cozier? Yeah. And not get stuck by the titles of a minimalist house or a minimalist look.
I know I mentioned the dumpster, but most of the things that we got rid of were donations. So for the most part, I would have, you know, like I would post things that I was getting rid of. and ask if anyone wanted them. And I always got responses like, I want it, like I'll pick up, I'm local, or my family wanted it. And what I would do was set a time frame, like I want people to pick this up within 24 hours. But that sometimes became a headache for me. I feel like even when I said like, hey, you need to pick it up by tomorrow, like people would be like, oh, give me one more day. I'm not gonna like throw it away or give it to someone else. Like I'm gonna give them the extra time. But it became like a second job, like maintaining the donations going out, maintaining people coming over. And listen, I'm all for small talk, but like it was a lot of that. It was a lot of different people coming, different things going, like it was too much for me. So if I could go back, some of the important items that I gave to family members, I would still give it to them. But the rest of the stuff, I would have hired this company that I've seen like that picks up your donations. So kind of like the same concept. You rent a dumpster. They take that, you know, to the junkyard, or not the junkyard. What is it called?
I don't know. The dumpster?
Solid Waste Authority.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I don't know. They take it wherever
to
the, okay.
Yeah.
So I would have done the same thing, but a company that actually takes your donations and like does something with them, not throw them away. So that, because I've done Goodwill, I found a really good place for donating clothes. So when it came to clothes, I was able to donate them like immediately because my kids' old school had a donation center there. So I would take it and I would donate the clothes. Remember that little Dropbox thing?
Yeah.
I did that for clothes and shoes, and I did it all the time. So that's something. And then I donated like books to the library. So anything else that required people coming to get it that I wasn't like selling, I would have probably just donated it like in one like big, I was gonna say lump sum. That doesn't even make sense.
Lump sum of
stuff. But I would have just done it that way because it definitely killed my momentum just waiting on people to pick up the things.
And that's huge whenever you're trying to declutter. Like most people, they quit because it takes too long. Mm-hmm. And it feels too overwhelming. And anything that you can do to get rid of all of that, that time between having a clutter house to not having clutter is like, it's huge. Because I will say I admire Carlene's ability to have like gone through that, because like you said, having to manage people, having to manage the clutter itself during that time, and you know, still being a mom, all of that stuff, like it's very difficult to keep your motivation and momentum to still do the thing. Because then a lot of people that we know that we've connected with over the years on this journey is like, a lot of them will like, they'll show what they've compiled, and sometimes it'll stay by their door or in a closet for months, weeks.
Or they'll forget they
forever.
even like put it there.
Yeah.
So it can end up being like,
it's your new wall art. It's your new wall art. Your new furniture.
So I would definitely do that. Okay, people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, why didn't you sell?" That would have taken even more mental space. I had to just accept the fact that a lot of these things, the money was already wasted when I bought it. So you know, people are like, "Oh, it's a waste of money." I took it as I'm blessing other people, because a lot of the stuff we got rid of was so nice, like good stuff. Like even like designer purses and things like watches. I got rid of so many things that I feel like people were so blessed with. And there's nothing to me more satisfying than like going to someone's house or seeing someone with something that I gave them. So someone wearing clothes that I gave them, or someone like I saw someone wearing or holding the purse that I gave them. Like things like that. I'm just like, oh, that feels better than just getting a couple of bucks for it. Yeah.
It's way more fulfilling, especially when you are pursuing minimalism as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all for selling stuff if you can make a couple bucks, but there's something about the fruit of giving something to somebody with no expectation in return. Yeah. It is helping you because you're moving towards a lifestyle that you want, but it's also blessing that person. They're like so happy about it, and it makes you feel better about moving towards being more minimal.
Yeah, it made me feel good. Yeah. And, you know, it's like everyone could use more money, right? Everyone would like to sell and whatever, but we were okay even without making $1. Like it felt really good. Like something that brings like a smile to my face is, and we talk about this all the time, but like you gave your whole trophy collection that you held so dear for like almost 30 years to my nephew, who loved it. He wanted to tell all his friends that those were his trophies. And then we gave another one of my nephews your old guitar that you hadn't used in years, and he was really happy about it. Then we've given away so many things. Like I gave my brother your whole childhood collection. This is a lot of your stuff I'm getting rid of. Your whole childhood collection of VHS tapes, and then my DVD and VHS. I gave it to my brother. He loves stuff like that, like collecting things like that. We gave a computer desk to a family that needed it. I donated my desktop computer that I barely used because I was just staying home at that point. Donated that like to people who actually needed it. So yeah, it felt really good. And if I could go back, I would do that part all over again. Just give people stuff that really needed it. As
we've been on this journey, we've realized a lot that minimalism has a lot to do with stuff, but also has a lot to do with the non-physical things. And one of those things for me was commitments and how I lived my life. And for a long time, once I became a minimalist and I became much more intentional about how do I spend my time? Who am I saying yes to? I got to the point where I think I became selfish for myself. And in a way, I think that's okay because I needed to get to that point because for a while, I felt like I had no control over my life. But I got to a point where I would say no to things that felt like maybe a waste of time. And a lot of it had to do with connecting with people or doing something social. And
That's true.
One of the things that I feel like I'm learning is that to have a fulfilling life, a lot of it has to do with the things that you do in your life. Like, did you fulfill your purpose? Did you raise your family the way that you wanted to? Did you accomplish the things that you wanted? But then a lot of it has to do with, what about the relationships that you had? Like the people that you got to experience. And I think in some ways I missed out on opportunities of just being a little bit more intentional with friendships or intentional with people that I feel like there were moments where people crossed my path. And they only crossed my path for that moment, and I missed that chance to connect with them. Because if I were to go back now, it doesn't have the same opportunity. Like, you know when what they say, the stars align?
Yeah.
The stars aligned, and I missed it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would, if I could go back, I would still be very choosy about what I commit to and how I lead my life, my calendar, my day. But I'd also be a lot more open to opportunities to just be with people and build a relationship with somebody a little bit more, and more than just trying to build a relationship with somebody to lead them somewhere spiritually, because that was I would say a lot of my effort and people were just I just want to lead them spiritually versus just I just want to be with this person and experience them, and I missed out on that. One of the things I'd also do differently, if we could go back, is I would ask my beautiful wife, what would make you happy in your home? We spent a lot of time keeping our house really simple, but I didn't ask you, what would make you feel cozy? Because even though we're at a better place now, we're figuring out what can we do to make our house cozy, there were times where you had ideas that I was definitely not open to. Hanging up a sign here or there, or putting something over our bed. I'm nah, that's just going to be too much. And, one, clutter, but then two, I don't know, also spending money on stuff.
Also, you being lazy and not wanting to hang things. Let's just call it what it is.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A little bit.
When I give him a task to do, he's I'll get to it. So let's just be honest. There's things I told him to do a year ago. And he's I know I'm going to do it. And I said, okay, I know I asked you a year ago, but
I'm just being a husband, okay? That's what we do.
If it doesn't have to do with the grass, he doesn't want to do it, okay?
No, there's been house projects that I've actually been... I know, but there have been house projects that...
No, listen to this. This is so off topic, but homeownership has been wild, guys, okay? First of all, he developed this love for grass, which is a whole different topic, but... He is in the middle of a lot of projects, which I'm sure a lot of husbands are, but he is painting the doors, right? So what he did was he taped off every single door in this house, right? They've been taped off for months. He's finished 2 doors.
And there's probably
3.
4 more.
There's a couple more.
They take a lot of time.
Wait, they all have, someone's going to be she's so mean. No, listen, this is important because this is his thought process. He taped all the doors, right? There's green tape everywhere. I'm looking at green tape right now. There's green tape behind me. And I told him, because we had a birthday party here for my daughter. I'm like, we need to take this green tape off. I'm like, he's like, no, I want it there so people know that I'm in the middle of a project.
No, I said,
I want them to know I'm in the middle of, like, I'm going to get to it.
I said, hey, it's good because people say our house is a work in progress because there are some unfinished projects. And now, like, you guys, as you watch the videos, you're going to be looking out, like, for the cameo, like, oh, I see it.
Show them the green tape. But also, it's just so funny. Like, this guy right here, always offering to help people paint their houses because he loves to paint and he's really good at it, right? Meanwhile, he'll tell a friend that and I'm behind him like, but are you going to finish ours? Yeah. And he's like, I don't like painting our house. I like painting other people's houses. What? Okay, we need to end this video. But, so things we would do differently.
There's a few though.
Yeah, but for the most part, I would have kept everything the same because we had to kind of go through that. We had to go through like the disaster, the mess, the clutter to be able to explain to people why we wouldn't do it that way, because you have to really come from a place of experience to teach people. So I'm kind of glad we did it that way. We learned both ways, and then we've had to also go back and re-declutter. In the last video that I did by myself, I shared kind of the season I was in, and in that season we accumulated stuff, more stuff than normal. And, you know, because we had holidays and birthdays and different things coming in. And normally I'm on top of when things come in, things come out. But I didn't do that in this season. So I've actually decluttered again recently. And I was like pleasantly surprised at, first of all, how much I was able to donate or trash. And also surprised at how smoothly and not messy that process was. Like, it was super simple. So if I could have used that in the beginning, I would have, but, you know, you learn from experience. So that's all I've got.
This is a wise woman.
You're like smiling at me?
We love you guys. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.